notion that mainstream media uses climate change to oppress Christians is a complex and multifaceted issue. While it is essential to acknowledge the critical role that media plays in shaping public opinion and discourse, it is also crucial to examine the ways in which climate change is often framed and presented in the media, and how this might impact Christian communities. Some argue that the media's focus on climate change is part of a broader agenda to undermine traditional Christian values and promote a secular, liberal worldview. One way in which the media's coverage of climate change might be seen as oppressive to Christians is through the promotion of a narrative that pits environmentalism against Christianity. This narrative suggests that Christians are inherently anti-environmental and that their beliefs and values are incompatible with the need to address climate change. This framing can be seen in a way that some media outlets portray Christians as being in denial about the reality of climate change or as being opposed to efforts to reduce carbon emissions and transition to renewable energy sources. By presenting Christians in this light, the media can perpetuate a negative stereotype that contributes to a sense of marginalization and exclusion among Christian communities. Furthermore, the media's emphasis on climate change can also be seen as a way of promoting a particular worldview that is at odds with traditional Christian values. The environmental movement, which is closely tied to the issue of climate change, often promotes a vision of the world that is centered on the protection of the planet and the preservation of natural resources, rather than on the salvation of souls or the promotion of spiritual values. This can create a sense of tension between Christians who see the natural world as a creation of God, to be stewarded and cared for, and those who view the environment as an end in itself, worthy of protection and preservation regardless of its relationship to human beings. In addition, the media's coverage of climate change can also be seen as a way of promoting a particular set of policies and solutions that may not align with Christian values. For example, some proposals for addressing climate change, such as population control or the promotion of sustainable development, may be at odds with Christian teachings on sanctity of human life or the importance of economic development. By promoting these solutions as the only way to address climate change, the media can create a sense of pressure on Christians to conform to a particular worldview or set of values, rather than allowing them to engage with the issue in a way that is consistent with their faith. It is also worth noting that the media's coverage of climate change can be highly sensationalized and alarmist, which can create a sense of fear and anxiety among the general public. This can be particularly problematic for Christians, who are called to trust in God's sovereignty and providence, even in the face of uncertainty and adversity. By promoting a narrative of climate change as an existential threat, the media can create a sense of desperation and hopelessness that is at odds with the Christian message of hope and redemption. Despite these concerns, it is essential to acknowledge that climate change is a real and pressing issue that requires a thoughtful and nuanced response. Christians have a critical role to play in addressing this issue, and the media can play an important part in promoting a constructive and respectful dialogue about the ways in which faith and environmentalism intersect. Rather than pitting environmentalism against Christianity, the media could seek to highlight the ways in which Christian values and principles can inform and shape our response to climate change. By promoting a more balanced and inclusive approach to the issue, the media can help to create a sense of shared purpose and common ground, rather than perpetuating division and conflict. Ultimately, the media's coverage of climate change should seek to promote a sense of hope and cooperation, rather than fear and oppression, and should acknowledge the important role that Christian communities can play in addressing this critical issue.